Yeah, you just time me and give me a 2-minute warning, okay?
Yes.
Let me just get the next slide. So it's nice to be here. I'll just get straight to the chase because it's funny, to the chase, yes. Okay, just very quickly, because Beatrice said something about this as well, I think we all become chess teachers by accident. You know, I had absolutely no intention of teaching chess, nor had I ever taught chess. And 1976, I got a call from a parent who said, you know, you've been recommended, will you teach my son? And I said, I'm not interested, I don't teach children. And anyway, he insisted and came over, and that was John Jarecki, and he made the cover of Chess Life at one point. So, you know, so that's how it all started. But then in terms of schools, I had no experience of teaching anything more than a one-on-one. So I answered this ad from Hunter, and I walked into the principal's office. He said, so you teach chess? I said, yes. Not true. And he said, okay, follow me, and took me into a room and told the teacher who was teaching the class, round up everyone who knows nothing about chess. And so the teacher rounded up about 12 kids, and the principal turned to me and said, you have 15 minutes, teach them. So your 15 minutes makes sense. So that's how, you know, that's how it all started. But so let me just cut to the chase, because we are supposed to talk about the process of writing the books. So you see the covers of the two books that I wrote. I'll start with the blue one very quickly. The blue cover was the 25th anniversary edition cover. The original one, for those of you who have it, is a yellow one. And surprise, surprise, the book sold about 35,000 copies, which is pretty good for a chess book. But I remember from the process of writing this book is when I took the manuscript into Random House, my editor at Random House said, this is too long, you have to cut it. You know, and why don't we eliminate all these wrong answers? I said, you really don't get it, do you? So anyway, long and short of it, I won. The wrong answer stayed in, and you know, and I think it sort of changed how some chess books are written. So the comments I have gotten over the years it's very readable, and you know, the explanations are clear. So I was very gratified with that. So then 25 years later, I thought, well, you know, let's revisit and take a look. And I read it again. I said, well, I really said that 25 years ago. No, I didn't. It didn't seem like I knew what I was talking about. So I actually did a comprehensive rewrite, and the blue one is the 25th anniversary edition, and that came out in 2018. So one other thing about writing this book. When I went to Random House, they had just bought the David McKay series the book collection. And if any of you are old enough to know old David McKay books, you would know that the diagrams are ridiculous. They are so small. So I saw these diagrams, I said, you're not going to publish my book with these diagrams. So I insisted that Random House buy the Linares font and get some decent sized diagrams. So my book was the first one that came out with the Linares font on the diagrams. So I think I did some good for chess in that regard. Okay, so that was the process of getting this going, and you know, the new edition is doing well. I added some chapters and did a complete rewrite, changed all the supplemental games and so forth. Okay, great moves. So this began as a reading text for District 9 in the Bronx. And there was a teacher there who was teaching chess. His name was Alan Abrams. He's listed here as my co-author, one of my co-authors. Alan had these incredible stories about chess players that he would tell his kids. And it just seemed to get them really excited about chess. And I liked what he was doing, so I volunteered to go in and, just teach his class a couple of times. And so that's how it started. And then we shelved it. We didn't do anything with it for about 15 years. And then in the end, when Robert McLaren joined the NSCF, he talked me into, he said, there's a way we can do this and we can market it and tell the stories. So it's all about stories. And that's really what history is about as far as I'm concerned. It's the stories of characters, past and present, and I certainly know plenty of current chess characters, but there were some very interesting people in the past as well. As the years went by, I realized so I'm on faculty at Hunter in the campus schools in K-12, and what I realized was that we did not have enough texts that showed the intersection between chess and regular academic subjects. So I picked the lowest hanging fruit, which was social studies. And that's why this book came about, and it is actually being used as a text for electives in different districts around the country. So I never really promoted it because then COVID hit and everything, but spent a lot of time on this book. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the stories and about the fact that it filled a void, in my opinion. And it's something that still exists because we have to have texts about chess and other disciplines, maybe chess and computer science, chess and law, chess and STEM, or STEAM if you want, and then you can bring Da Vinci into it. He's the A in the STEAM, right? So, Robert would know all about that. By the way, he presented yesterday as a very modest guy, and he never told you that he was Teacher of the Year, very recently. So, Robert, I want to embarrass you by saying Teacher of the Year, yes. Okay, so in terms of the stories, there are lots of stories, and I have to be honest, parts 2 and 3 of the book were written before part 1. Because after I wrote parts 2 and 3, I said, well, nobody's going to read this book because you need to know something about chess. But then how much am I going to put in to bring somebody up to speed on chess? And anyway, we wrote part 1 after that. And I just want to tell one story about chess, because yesterday they were talking about the order of moves and stuff like that, and Max said, rook and then bishop. I had this class that could never tell the difference between the rook and the bishop. I mean, they identified the pieces correctly, but they couldn't remember which one moved which way. So I told one of my colleagues, that I'm having a lot of trouble, making them remember which one goes in straight lines and which one goes in diagonals. So my friend said, that's easy. He said, you're not going to have a problem, try this. So he came up with this really ridiculous explanation, and it was so ridiculous that everybody remembered it forever. So I'm going to tell you what it is. He said, well, it's very simple. He said, the rook has a fat head, and the bishop has a pointy head. The fat head cannot fit on the diagonal. End of story. Everybody remembered fat head and pointy head. So, when you talk about stories, you can make up stories as well to suit the purpose, So then, I had to do a Peter Doggers in the first part because there was a lot of history. And I just took a big, with big, bold strokes, right? 1,000 years in 10 pages. But the story about how chess was invented, there are lots of different stories. But being from Sri Lanka, and I think no self-respecting Sri Lankan would endorse any other story about how chess was created. It says that King Ravana, who was a king of Sri Lanka at one point, invented this game to amuse his wife, Mandodari. So the problem was, I was thinking they should have talked about this yesterday in the gender thing, because Mandodari beat him the first time he showed her the game. So I don't know, how much chess was played after that. But so this comes courtesy of the one book that any self-respecting colonized nation would have, and that is the Encyclopedia Britannica. So if you want to check it out, the Britannica says all about King Ravana. Okay, so I just want to go very quickly to like 3 things, because I think my time will be up then. Let me get to the bottom here. Who was helping me? Yeah, thanks, Emily. All these tabs are open, but I don't have a clue which tab is which. So if you go to the number 4 or 5 minutes, look at that. This is 5 minutes. Yeah, it's great. You give me an extra minute. Yeah, but 1,000 years in 10 pages. Yeah, what would you say? Yeah, no, I don't want Franklin. I want the next one. Yeah, okay, so no, not Murphy. So this one. What's this one? No, that's Franklin. Okay. All right, look, I may as well start. Okay, yeah, keep it here. Let's fill it up. So, Philidor wasn't his name. It was a title that was conferred to him by the king because of his musical prowess. And as you can see from the slide, the Tom Jones, which is an opera that Philidor wrote, is still produced today. And a story about operas. I mean, everybody knows the opera box story with Morphy. So I won't bring up Morphy's slides. You all know what he looks like. But the story is that Morphy was playing the Count and the Duke in the royal box at the Paris Opera House. What they don't tell you is that the royal box was situated very close to the stage. And Morphy and the Duke, and they were making such a racket that there was a lawsuit filed by the theater goers claiming that Morphy and his friends interfered with their enjoyment of the opera. I don't know what happened to the lawsuit. I was not able to find that, but I do know the lawsuit was filed. Wow. Anyway, some people think it was a marriage of Figaro that was playing, but now we think it was actually Bellini's Norma that was the opera that was being shown at the time. So, anyway, the previous one, okay, well, you saw a flash of it. I'm not going to. Okay, sure. And you probably saw very well. You heard Emily in the introduction say that I'm the liaison from the U.S. Chess Trust to the Hall of Fame. So, yeah, the chess set. No, this one. Yeah. No, next one. Okay. Okay. All right. So, they made me pay for this picture. The Hall of Fame. I don't believe it. Shame on you. But anyway, this is owned by a private collector, and it's come down on Martha Washington's side of the family. So we know that all the early American presidents played chess. If you go to Monticello, you'll see Jefferson's chess set, set up in his study. So linking Jefferson and Philidor, I have to tell you that Jefferson owned a copy of L'Analyse des Échecs by Philidor, which was the book at the time. And when Jefferson had to go to France, he had a little garage sale. And one of the items that he sold was his copy of L'Analyse des Échecs. And guess who bought it? James Monroe. And so, these are interesting tidbits that I found when doing my research. And, it was fascinating that all the early American presidents played chess. So then we come to Franklin, okay, who was not a president, but you could say he was a president. So when Franklin was sent to England to negotiate better terms for the embargo, he had to talk to Admiral Howe. but he couldn't reach the admiral. So, I mean, we all know about the morals of chess and, and the circumspection and, foresight and caution that, that Benjamin Franklin talked about. I would add to that resourcefulness, because he couldn't get to the admiral, so he decided to play chess with the sister. And of course the admiral came by, and so he got to talk to the admiral. So, by the way, Franklin lost the game. And the picture that we have, can we just get that Franklin painting up here? The painting was done by an English painter called Edward Harrison. Is it Edward Harrison? No, it's on there. But about 100 years later, the original is this one. The original is at Yale, and they charged me $250 to put this picture in my book. And so anyway, it's what it is. But you can see Lady Howe checkmating Benjamin Franklin. All right, now Franklin was a good player. I mean, he had ran a little chess club from his house in Philadelphia and everything. So, you would expect that maybe he'll do a little bit better, or maybe he lost on purpose, I don't know. But what intrigued me was why she was called Lady Howe if she was the sister of Admiral Howe and she was married. So I had to do some research on that, and I found that she actually married a distant cousin by the name of Sir Alec Howe. So therefore she was Lady Howe. So no, it's not a mistake. It is the sister of Admiral Howe, and it's because she was married to another Howe, So that's the story there, and so I will close with, if I may have 2 minutes. Okay. So I told you it's all about stories and characters and so forth. The characters, past and present. One, you should read the book. You can look for it on Amazon. One of the most interesting characters in the 19th century was Pierre de Saint-Amand, the great French player. Now, he was a very fancy dresser, and he liked to be noticed that he was a fancy dresser. So what he would do is he would go to the chess club and he would sit close to the window. So everybody passing by would say, "Ooh, look at that really good-looking guy." The problem was Saint-Amand's wife knew where to find him. So, so when he was not coming home, she would go to the club and she would tap with a parasol on the window, and that was the sign he had to get up and come home. So you have all these characters. But so I made up a story. You all know about the Battle of Trenton, and so George Washington crossed Delaware in the middle of the night, and attacked. So the troops on the other side were not British troops; they were German mercenaries, and they were Hessians. They were under the command of Colonel Rao. So what we know is, I said that my story is 75% fact and 25% fiction. But it's like poetic license, right? So, so the point is, next day, Colonel Rao was killed in battle, and they found that the spy in Washington's camp who sent the letter to Colonel Rao, the letter was unopened in his breast pocket. They pulled it out, and it was, telling him Washington's going to cross the Delaware in the middle of the night. He never opened it. So all this is fact. Even Bill Riley, puts it in his, Washington Spies. So the question is, why did he not open the letter? Isn't that obvious to all of us? He was playing chess. So the point is that maybe we could claim that America owes its existence to the game of chess. Now, it would have been nice to have a few bishops and knights scattered around the battlefield. Unfortunately, that did not happen. But I mean, it's plausible, I think. But I would never have advanced that theory if I didn't think that it was plausible. So if it had been the English were already at their winter quarters in New York. If it had been the English, I would never have advanced it, because England at that time did not have a culture of chess, but Germany did. So it's quite plausible that they were doing something like that. Anyway, I'll leave you with that. Thank you very much.
We're going to go to